Bryan Colter here, Evolutionary Astrologer, for another horoscope report for the upcoming Gemini full moon. You haven't seen me in a while. I had to miss the last video. Sorry about that. I actually tried to record it, but I had a lung infection and I was coughing every other sentence and I wasn't able to do it. So I'm back in action. Still got a little bit of cough, but thank God for video editing. So let's go ahead, we won't waste any time, and let's go ahead and dive into the chart and see where the planets will be on the sky during this beautiful full moon. Okay, as you can see here, we've just now started Sagittarian season. Sun has entered Sag, and as it did that, it was in a conjunction with Mars, the war god, also in the same symbol of Sag. And of course, the moon, the full moon, will be in Gemini, the sign opposite of the sun. And this is a very curious moon, a moon of a lot of movement, a potentially frenetic moon, a potentially flirtatious moon. It likes to zip around. It likes to see a lot, do a lot. It's a very active moon. You know, it's an air sign. Air signs are on the mental plane. So therefore, Gemini is the symbol of communication and thoughts and perception. It's connected to the mental field, the mind, hence the zippiness of the energy of this symbol. And this axis between Gemini and Sagittarius, we could call the axis of learning. Opposite signs are opposite sides of basically the same coin. So the way that Geminis navigate reality is very different from, and in many ways opposite to, the way Sagittarius chooses to navigate reality, just stylistically. But the end game is the same. The goal is the same for both of these symbols, which is to learn, which is to have wide-ranging experience. It's to know something by the end of the week that it didn't know at the beginning of the week. Gemini, the symbol of curiosity. Sagittarius, the symbol of the gypsy, the scholar, the philosopher. You know, there's different ways of learning, as I said. Gemini is kind of about the news. It's about the facts. It's about investigating information. It's actually known as the archetype of the journalist as well. The archetype of the journalist, the teacher, the storyteller. Sagittarius is more about the editorials. It's more about taking that news, taking that Geminian raw data information, and then turning it into meaning. It's like, what does this mean? What does this mean for the world? What does this mean for me? What's going on out there in the larger backdrop of the world? You know, the questions of the philosopher. What is the purpose of life? So Sagittarius is always searching for meaning, whereas Gemini is seeking to learn just because of its natural curious nature. Now with Mars in the mix, Mars adds a certain spiciness or feistiness to this very kinetic blast of an energy, being this full moon between the fire sign and the air sign. You know, Mars, the war god, Mars, the adventurer, here it is in the sign of the nomad or the gypsy or the traveler, Sagittarius. Mars in Sag has the feeling of, you know, sitting around the campfire, roasting marshmallows, telling stories, laughing. So it has that extroverted, communicative function. There's also a playful spirit to this, but this is a fire blast of energy and then also sheer adventure. So if we think about, okay, how do I work with this full moon? And of course, there's many ways to work with the symbols, but for starters, here I am recording this on the 24th. The full moon happens in a couple days, I think on Monday. And then the full moon phase will be a few days after that. So really over the next week or so, you recognize that this fun Sagittarian Gemini axis is so strong. It's a good idea in terms of working with the energy instead of against it. Going on adventures, having some fun, learn what you haven't known before. So you take this week-long period of time and you think to yourself, how can I pack the experience of 2 weeks into one? That captures so much of the spirit of this event. And if you can have new activities, because the spirit of this energy is about breaking up established patterns of behavior. It's like, let's do something new. Let's do something fun and adventurous, like travel. Travel's the classic way to work with Sag Gemini. And it doesn't have to be long distance travel. It's just like getting out of town, go to see a friend, a change of a venue. Changes in attitude, changes in latitude has some relevance here with this set of energies. So a change of scene seems to be helpful here in a conducive kind of way. Better yet, if those new experiences are perhaps a little bit edgy, or they bring you to the borders of your comfort zones, or they are thrilling or exciting, or maybe even scare or intimidate you a little bit. Even better, because that's the more Mars side of this, the war god. Always when working with Mars in astrology, you want to ask yourself the question, what am I afraid of? Or use the warrior mantra of, I face my fears to evoke courage. So the evolutionary question could be, what's a new set of experiences I could have that would be thrilling to me and perhaps a little bit scary or risky? And not only will you benefit from the excitement of that set of activities, but then it will fold back into your consciousness as a deeper level of not only understanding on a cerebral, mental, intellectual level as you learn new things, but then also as bravery and courage as you follow the path of the warrior. And I think if you work with this energy in this way, not only will it be very fun, but you'll learn a lot, which is the whole point. I would say this energy can be very passionate, especially with a full moon. People tend to be more passionate during full moons. They feel more intensely. And the word passion is also linked to the word Mars. Here we have Mars opposite the moon. So there's a strong passionate energy. And people who are very sensitive emotionally will be feeling this full moon more strongly than others. So there is some emotional impulsivity or erratic behavior that can happen through some of this, but I'm not trying to make that necessarily a negative thing, because that erratic impulsivity could lead to some pretty amazing new experiences. But I suppose it's worth saying to be cautious about that, because that can also get us into trouble from time to time. So it's a bit of a balancing act, just knowing that these energies are going on and be working with them constructively, at the forefront of our consciousness, and saying, okay, let's have some fun here, but I'm going to do it in a way that's responsible, but still, tiptoeing up to the edges of what's considered risky and fun and all that. We also have this very interesting aspect of Saturn square the full moon. And what's implicit in that is that Mars is also square Saturn. And this particular aspect is generally dreaded by astrologers and is talked about a lot by the doom and gloomers out there quite extensively. And for good reason. Let's be fair here. When these two baddies come together, especially through a square, it usually does lead to some fireworks happening in some people's personal lives, especially if these planets are activating a sensitive part in that person's chart. But then, of course, we see it on the world stage as well. And this is connected to the idea that classically, Mars is known as the lesser malefic. Yes, it's the war god, but it's usually seen as a negative planet. There's a positive expression of Mars too, which we'll get to, but the lesser malefic is in a very difficult, challenging aspect, being the square. It's a friction-based aspect, which with Saturn, which is known as the greater malefic. So you have both malefics basically here in a face-off. And I got to say, this combination here is quite difficult to get it right. There's a beautiful evolutionary intention with these planets, but since it's so fiery and combustible, people tend to, especially again on the world stage, get it wrong more often than not. And how you can get this set of energies wrong, at least amongst the collective, is the fiery, feisty energy of the warrior when it's in the sign of religion, Sagittarius. And what I mean by religion is basically dogmatic beliefs. It's not necessarily what somebody believes about God specifically, although it includes that. So there's this sort of religious zealot energy here with Mars in Sag, squaring to the Saturn. So the explosive religious zealot energy is at cross purposes with the brick wall of of Saturn, which does represent a brick wall. Saturn likes to slow things down. Mars likes to speed things up and go fast and, unimpeded by obstructions. Well, here we find Saturn, a big, big obstruction. And the fire, the Mars representing the anger, the rage, the fear. And again, these are low responses to Mars. This comes from egoic set of emotions, low consciousness emotions like rage and grief and fear. I mean, that's part of the human experience. Everybody has them. So if you experience anger, it's not like you're messing up, but it's like it is a stress-based response. And when you experience these emotions, they damage your internal psyche, your astral body. And so too do they damage others around you. So it's an unhealthy response to Mars, although in some circumstances it's understandable, of course. So here you find this aggressive martial energy running into the brick wall of the control, the Saturnian control mechanisms of the world, which are fueled by Pisces, dark side Pisces, which is deception, the delusions of the powerful when we're talking about Saturn and Pisces. And this can, it's like a car. You ever see one of those tests where the car smashes into the wall because they want to test the seatbelts, the crash dummies and whatnot? Sometimes that's what Mars square Saturn can feel like. So above what is considered average for those kind of run-ins happens much more above random chance, let's say, during this class of events. So not to be doom and gloom about it, but just be aware this is a classic triggering event, especially during full moons when, again, people are more passionate, people are fiery, people are feeling more strongly. And then you also add to the mix the impulsivity potential of Sagittarius and Gemini, and this can be a recipe for some not so good things happening. Of course, this energy can be made manifest in a much more powerful and positive way. It's just through the square, and with these two planets, it's very difficult to navigate it successfully. And we want to spend the rest of our time really focusing on that, because that's the A+ on the report card. That's the holy grail of this event. And one way, especially again amongst the collective, that this can manifest positively is we take this warrior archetype, we look at it from the more virtuous expression of the warrior, where it's about bravery and courage. It's those that stand up with courage to defend themselves or to defend those who cannot defend themselves, the protector energy of Mars, fueled by Sagittarian idealism, standing up against, again, those same control mechanisms of the world who are deluded by their own delusions and deceptions. So that's a more positive expression, but you still have that feeling of coming up against the brick wall. It's like things coming to a head. Now, on a personal level, and this is really the heartbeat of evolutionary astrology, where we always ask the question, okay, how can I work with these planets proactively for my own betterment and evolution? Well, Saturn is the Lord of solitude, and here it is in the sign of Pisces the mystic. So it's also about hard work and accomplishing a great work through consistency and diligence and focus. This is also Saturn. So doing the hard work to find some separation in our life to where we can feel some solitude and quiet so that we can focus on Pisces activities. Now that could be the exploration of consciousness through meditative states. That could be through great works of art. Pisces is also known as the visionary. It's a deeply creative sign, although we tie the visionary with the mystic and recognize that the Piscean mode of creating at least is in part divinely inspired, because it's also a very psychically sensitive sign. Really represents the conduit for the muse. So the Lord of solitude in the mystic visionary sign, and some great works of art tend to be done alone in quiet, not in a busy park surrounded by people, although that may happen too. But, the pot boils best with the lid on. Now, this all sounds great. Why is it a square? It's like, well, what's the square to the moon, the Mars, the sun on a more personal level? Well, squares aren't bad. They're just difficult. Now, if we think about the goal of Saturn in Pisces, to get some mountaintop time, to commune with the angels, so to speak, it's a very different set of energies than what I started this reading with. It's like explore, adventure, have a good time. Now, you can bring those together somehow, going on some spiritual adventure. You could add the idea of the vision quest as a metaphor, as a very powerful way of working with this. But on the face of things, these two very different set of energies somehow need to come together integratively. And it's a square because it's hard. So you have this more inward, quiescent energy of the Saturn in Pisces, which is in some friction with this more outrushing power, the kinetic blast of the air and fire, which is very experiential. But there is a heightened potential here to have a breakthrough in one's level of consciousness by going on, in air quotes, a vision quest. That's the symbol that you can play within your mind and heart during this event. Now, the last planetary aspect I really want to talk about here is similar territory, which we've already been discussing, where you have Neptune in Pisces, and this is even a more pure expression of spiritual energy because Neptune rules Pisces. Here it is in its own sign, and it's in a very tight square with Mercury. And Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. Whenever we're looking at a lunar event, we always want to consider the planet that rules the sign that the moon is in. So Mercury rules Gemini. Here it is in Sagittarius as well. Now, the classic interpretation of Neptune in Pisces square Mercury is basically mental confusion or a murkiness of the mind. And there may be some of that for many people. And if you're experiencing some mind murkiness or confusion, which is classic to this event, the idea here is like, okay, it's not to just suffer with confusion and, the idea that you're driving through a thick fog, can't see 4 feet ahead of you. There's always an evolutionary intention here. And the idea is, okay, how do I work with that? Well, the idea is to try to cut through the fog by, sound like a broken record here, doing Neptunian and Piscean activities, entering into theta state or alpha state, which is basically light trance and deep trance work, or anything that brings you in a meditative state. It can even be hiking out in nature. It doesn't have to be a traditional form of meditation. And something magical can happen when you're in that very particular Neptunian state of consciousness. You can receive something into your mind because there's so much mental energy here. Mercury actually represents the mind, represents our thoughts, much like Gemini does. So realizations entering into our mind as divinely inspired light bulb moments. So it's a visionary time as well. Even though in your normal day-to-day, it may feel confusing or murky because you're trying to operate at waking consciousness level, which of course we have to do to get by in this world. But Neptune and Mercury isn't concerned about you needing to get by in this world. It's like, let's access something deeper here from around us in the field, so to speak. A vision wants to cut through the fog to have some sort of realization that can be a major helper in your journey in this world. It can have a catalytic impact on the direction and flow of your life and may even give you insight into what is this wide-ranging experience I need to be having over the next week. So I face my fears to evoke courage. Let's pack the experience of 2 weeks into one. Let's have a good time. And meanwhile, we got this different set of energies, which is more inward, more quiescent, more about raising one's consciousness. Now, this video itself could be a good metaphor for these energies, because here I am, talk, talk, talk. You're getting all these ideas. I'm giving a Sagittarian spin of meaning on it. And now we can enter into the guided meditation portion of this video, which is designed to work quite directly with these energies. But these were the core evolutionary intentions, with the goal being to expand our consciousness. Now, as usual, we're going to dive into the meditation, but I'm going to be using two new techniques here that I need to explain. And you may want to practice them a little bit before you dive in. And these are more exotic. These are more Sagittarian. They're exotic to me. Some of you may have already done these practices. One of them is called the breath of fire, and the other one is the root lock. Now, the breath of fire is rapid breathing, shallow breathing, quick inhale, quick exhale through the nose. Okay? And I'll show you the pacing of it in a second. And this is also called bellows breath, because basically we're going to be using the stomach as a pump or a bellows. So you're going to do a quick inhale, and then on the quick exhale, you're going to pump the solar plexus stomach area lightly. Pump it in and out. And the pace is something like this. Breath of fire. And with the pumping action of the stomach, you're actually supercharging this lower energy furnace of the body, known as many names, but out of China, it's known as the lower dantian, for example, which houses our main energy center, also our subconsciousness, a lot of different things. And this breath of fire is a powerful technique. I really love it. So I'll guide you through that during the meditation. It's pretty easy. You can practice it now if you like. And also the root lock, where we'll breathe energy in all the way to the root chakra, basically, which is at the pelvic floor or the perineum area of the body. Perineum's in between the genitals and the anus. And you basically flex the perineum as you exhale and visualize a light shooting up your spine to your head. It's an amazing technique. And so we'll be doing both those, breath of fire and the root lock. I hope you enjoy the meditation, and I recommend you use headphones for this because I use binaural beats. Enjoy. Sit in a comfortable position with a straight spine, and we will begin by focusing on the breath. And as you inhale, feel the breath come through your nose into your lungs. And exhale through the nose. And on the next inhale, do a nice slow breath all the way down into your belly. Feel your belly expand, and then your lungs. And as you exhale, exhale from the belly first and then the lungs. So always into your lower belly first for the inhale, and also from the belly on the exhale. And just relax into the rhythm of the breath. And on the next inhale, add the visualization of the color sky blue. See a sky blue color entering the lungs as you inhale and then expanding throughout your entire body. And with each inhale, you're seeing that sky blue color grow brighter and brighter throughout your body. The frequency of this color is very calming. It helps to dissipate any nervous energy within the body. And remember, when you inhale, belly first and then the lungs, along with the sky blue color. And maintain this visualization for a few more breaths. And now slow the breath down a little bit more. And we're going to do 3 full breaths here, nice and slow, all the way down to the belly. And then on the 3rd inhale, hold your breath for a few moments, and then begin the breath of fire at this pace. A very shallow inhale and exhale through the stomach, and you're using the belly, the solar plexus, as a pump. So every time you pump in the solar plexus, it's matching the exhale. Quick, rhythmic breathing. Focus your attention on the 3rd eye point between the eyebrows. And make sure you're relaxed in your entire body with just the pumping action in your solar plexus. Keep going for 1 more minute. And inhale, nice big breath into the belly, and then exhale. And just feel your body. And sense all the energetic shifts that happened in your physical and your energy bodies. And just breathe. Probably notice that you can breathe even slower now, and that's good. And just relax into the breath. And focus on the head center. And visualize a bright white gold sun in and around your head. And with each inhale, that sun grows brighter. And with each exhale, the air goes out, but the energy stays in. And just feel the energy swirl inside your head and body. Concentrate on that white gold color as much as you can. And slowly move your attention down into the throat center. And visualize an orange color in your throat. And still visualize the white gold in the head, while you simultaneously see the orange in your throat. And again, with each inhale, see the colors grow brighter. Now move your attention into your chest area and visualize a beautiful white-pink color in and around your chest, a sphere. And as you inhale, you see it grow brighter. And as you exhale, the air goes out, but the energy stays in. And as you visualize this white-pink color in the chest, feel unconditional self-love and compassion. This is your emotional center, and stimulating the emotions of love, joy, compassion, gratitude, while also visualizing the white-pink color, greatly strengthens your emotional body and raises your consciousness. Maintain this visualization for a few more breaths. Now sink your awareness down into your solar plexus. And visualize a sky blue sun in your solar plexus and belly area. And this shouldn't be too hard since you just did the breath of fire and enlivened this center. And see the color grow brighter with each inhale. So bright it's blinding. And maintain this visualization for a few more breaths. Now bring your awareness even lower to your pelvic floor. To your root chakra. And see your pelvic floor shining a bright white light. And the more it shines, the more it sends light up through your entire body. Almost like how a welding torch lights up the room that it's in. And send more and more attention down to the pelvic floor. As you visualize it infused with this white light. And hold this visualization for a few more breaths. And next we'll do the root lock. So on the next inhale, I want you to send the breath all the way down to your root chakra. And as you exhale, flex the perineum and the pelvic floor area as you exhale, and see a white light, almost like a spotlight, shoot up the spine to the head. And release the lock and let go. And return to your normal breath for a little bit. And observe the energetic shifts in your body. And we'll do it again. So on the next inhale, send the breath all the way down to your perineum. And as you exhale, engage the root lock and shoot the light up the spine to the head. Release the lock and let go. Breathe. Merge with this still point. And we'll do one more. So inhale all the way down to the pelvic floor. And as you exhale, engage the root lock, flex the perineum, and shoot that white light up the spine into your head. And release the lock and let go. And just be very aware of all the subtle energetic shifts in your physical and your energy body. Now expand your awareness to your entire body. Feel your entire body all at once. And on the next inhale, breathe in an electric blue color, almost like a lightsaber. Breathe that electric blue into your entire body and see it vibrating with this color. And feel this light suffusing with every cell of your body. And see yourself shining brightly in all directions as a being of light.